yeah, me and my co-host Jack Black over here.
Yes.
As soon as I'm walking, I'm like the beard. I'm like, oh, it's Jack Black. Right?
Yeah, it's getting out of control. Not good for the summer here, though.
I thought it looks good. It's trimmed. It's nice. Yeah.
Not good for the
I
summer.
only just managed to shave like this morning. I was just like,
Oh man. Well, good to have you.
Yeah, I'm back.
And not
surprisingly.
easy. Yeah, not easy to get here. Oh yeah. So, how's the intensive English programs going?
Summer intensive
summer?
English?
Yes.
Or we got to do again in winter?
Oh no, intense winter English too.
Yeah. Okay. I'll cut work check quick. It's going okay, and lots of people are in the things. I feel kind of guilty because I don't have to teach them. Because most of the courses start after I leave my shift, but I still have to help develop them. And I'm also the reason I've been out so often is I'm also the one who has to train people to teach the courses, often at the drop of a hat. An instructor walking up, oh, I got this thing in about 10 minutes. No one told me how to do it. And it's like, all right, come on, I'll show you how to do it, right? Sometimes it's organized okay, right? Where it's like, I have a training for a course that I'm doing tomorrow or whatever, but often it's, can someone show me how to do this thing that I'm doing next? Which is often why I was like, sorry, can't come, right? I'm training this person, right?
Wow.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so,
Last minute. That's thoughtful of them.
Yeah, it is.
It's a tight ship they're running over.
Well, it's a combination of no one scheduling it, people thinking that instructors don't need to be trained, and instructors kind of just going, only having a 7-minute break to prep for lessons and stuff, and then not checking their schedule ahead, or sometimes waiting for the last minute. That's when I get kind of grumpy at them, like, when are you teaching this? Next period. Bro, that's in a minute. You couldn't have rocked up earlier, right?
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah.
Nice.
So, but how are things here?
Oh, good. Hanging in there. Yeah, Matt was nice enough to fill in, and so it wasn't just me talking to myself.
Nice.
So yeah, that worked well. Yeah, and we've been posting some of the stuff that we recorded but didn't live stream of. Matt put together a campaign using Knave.
I saw that.
Yeah, and so we did. So the third and fourth session were live streamed, but the 0 session and then 1 and 2 are going to be in the members section, and also audio on Patreon.
Cool.
So anybody that's interested in those, it's really fun and really interesting to see what Matt did with the system and the kind of changes, because it's already a very light system, but the changes that were made to things like magic and stuff that we wanted to. Nice. Yeah, so it's interesting.
I shall give it a listen when I am not doing stuff that requires me to type.
Oh, right,
text,
yes.
right? Because otherwise it'll just turn into a transcript.
Just record it all. Yeah, but I gave up because we're getting a real backlog of stuff we've done just through Discord, and I'm like, okay, let's just release the rough audio. So there's going to be bathroom breaks, and there's going to be rules lookups in the middle.
People aren't mic'd when they go to the bathroom, right?
No, yes. We walk away. The microphones are fixed.
I've caught a few people at work, not their fault, right? But for some of the classes, we do use a wireless Bluetooth mic, so especially for the kids ones. So people walk around, people walking past me, I'm like, where are you going, bathroom? You got the mic still on, right? Whoa, sorry. I've caught a few people like that.
Nice. Yep. You confessed to murder in the toilet.
Yeah. Well, that would be ideal, as opposed to some of the other stuff that happens, right? Yeah.
Nice, but so it's going good. And I've been seeing on your social media. So if the next war game we play, you bring microscopes, I'm not interested because the scale is getting minute.
Okay, I'm ruining a joke here, but I was gonna do one of post just my empty light box and be like my newest 0mm scale stuff, right? And I'm like, my partner loves it. It doesn't take up any space, right?
Right. It's ideal for story.
It has gone 28, 15, 6, 2.
Yes. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, and so I was looking at the they've been doing updates for, I guess it's coming out this year, the Legion Imperialis.
What?
The new epic, the Horus Heresy epic that GW is doing.
I'm drawing a blank on it. It's something fake Latin-y, right?
Yeah.
Legions.
Yeah, Legion Imperialis?
Sorry, you're right. Legion
Imperialis. Because they did Aeronautica
It's Legions Imperialis.
Yeah,
sorry,
Yeah, and I can't figure, because I've seen a couple of diagrams, but I'm mostly seeing photographs of round bases, and I'm thinking that scale and round bases, what's the difference? Can't you just then proxy 28 and just say this is 5 units? You can just abstract it.
Honestly, there's no difference, and I've been posting that stuff on my Instagram because I actually get kind of like consistent work time when everyone goes to bed. Really, after a certain, even with 28mm. they're just representations,
Yeah,
right? Like
right.
there's nothing. Okay, when I was reading the Hail Caesar rule book from Warlord Games, right, written by Rick Priestley, who again can't write rules to fucking save his life, right?
Oh, I think
Okay, so the rules are there. Just like take the editorializing fucking out. Even the quick reference sheet, I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is still unreadable, right? Okay, they even said, okay, even with 28 millimeter stuff, we do like a max of 4 ranks of model soldiers. Imagine this is like 8 to 24 guys deep, right? So even at that scale, you're still abstracting, right? So there's what you said. There's no difference from this 25 millimeter base to that 25 millimeter or whatever's on it.
Yeah.
And I'm reading that some of the ancient based war games, not ancient written, but like the most important thing is the frontage of the base. The depth of the base doesn't matter at all, right? It's just how wide is this base, and that's only so like smaller units don't take up the entire width of like a large unit, right? So you can get multiple units in there.
Yeah.
But honestly, what you said, there's no difference between, heck, you could, depending on what base sizes are, you could play Legions Imperialis with 32 millimeter scale guys, right?
Yeah, you could just be abstracting things. It's like, when you're just dealing with base sizes, they're just going to do 32 millimeter or whatever they've chosen. It's just a weird aesthetic thing. So you're just buying stuff again for this aesthetic look of like, oh yeah, this is like epic scale. Yeah, it's very strange. So there's something epic thing that's going to come up in one of the news stories today that's interesting. But and also Matt corrected me last week. I guess
guy didn't correct me.
Yes, that guy.
I'm always correct.
But what they're doing now isn't their same 6 millimeter epic scale. It's 8 millimeter to match what they already did with the Aeronautica and their the Titanicus one. Yeah. So they're using a new scale. And
when I first saw that, I'm like, come on, GW. This is so people with other 6 millimeter stuff can't proxy, which I still think is the thought process behind it, or at least some of it. But then someone corrected me and said, yeah, okay, 8 millimeter is the scale for Aeronautica, Imperialis, Legions, whatever, right? So I'm like, okay, there's a decent reason for it, right?
The only nice thing about that is then the terrain works for everything. Yeah, that's one good thing that they actually did about it. Yeah, but seeing those round bases, that made me like super uninterested because wanting
you don't want those 5 little guys on the recess pools on the
okay. It's okay, but I mean, I wanted to rank kind of an epic scale ranked square bases seemed more compelling.
Wait until they come out with Legion's Old Worldicus, or whatever they're going to call it, right?
Yeah, that's right. They're
as someone who is dividing their models between fantasy and low tech goes on square, modern and future go on round. The round bases don't turn me off.
I see.
The fact that GW turns me off, right? But anyway, I'm not going to get it, but I wonder how different the rules are. Right? Because maybe, like we were talking, like you could just go, I like these rules a lot better. I'm going to use these to play 28 millimeter. It's not 28 millimeter scale anymore. It's GW scale. Right? I'm going to use these rules to play GW scale.
Right.
But then, of course, you'd only be stuck in Horus Heresy era, but whatever. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, statting things and everything is difficult.
No, you're right. Like after a certain point, it does kind of. Why not use board game pieces for a certain?
Yeah. If you're just why not just cardboard circles that say this is a tank and this is it's like.
Hey, I'm not knocking it.
Yeah,
I did that when I had no money. Right,
right, definitely. Yeah, that's. But once you get to that point, it's you want to. You wonder. Yeah, and I think that's what they're doing with the old world too. Is they're going from the standard base size used to be 20 square, 20 mil, and now they're doing 25.
That's fine.
But it's just okay. So
Oathmark is 25, right? Oathmark is 25.
Yes, right. Yep.
And so, like, I like the bigger base size, but sometimes I think like, I wish these were closer together a little bit for the 20.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I was talking base and stuff before, like the frontage, kind of is the most important thing, and said after a certain point, like if you're basing an entire like Roman legion, I'm like, this is a 120 millimeter wide base, which doesn't help me save space. So never mind. Right.
Yeah, once you get to a certain point, but so we'll see. So we got to be playing. We got to get playing some stuff. That you're getting some armies together. So.
There's like one dude painted for each army.
Oh, okay.
Right? There's always, test model. Oh, that test model. Oh, test model.
You got a lot of successful testing.
I do. Now to just put it into production.
Right. Nice. All right. So let's get started for this week.
Gen Con FOMO.
Oh, yeah, right. Yes, someplace that we are not.
I'm fine with that, actually.
Welcome to the Weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Chris.
And this week on the Weekly, Cyberpunk Red Combat Zone.
Okay.
So that's out. We talked about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When it was kickstarting. Windheim and Horn of Dawn Kickstarter. Oh, there's a lot of Kickstarters coming in.
Windheim, not Windtime.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Windheim.
Yeah,
Okay.
Windheim.
I thought it was wind time.
Okay. Time for some wind.
Yep.
Garbage and Glory Kickstarter.
Okay.
And Mantic's Epic Warpath. So
Okay.
Mantic has a bit of a conundrum, and we'll talk about that.
All right.
And it sounds a little bit hopeful, though. I think they may be able to pull this one out. We'll find out. We'll see. So yes, that's true. So, as Chris said, we are not at Gen Con, but somebody that may be at Gen Con is Kyle Brink.
If you are at Gen Con, it's your duty to tell Kyle to quit.
Yes. If you're attending Gen Con this year, please ask Kyle to keep his promise to 3 black halflings and walk away from the hobby. You shouldn't be involved in it. You shouldn't manage it because you are white, you are cis, and you are heterosexual.
Yep,
exactly.
and a dude. That's
yes, and male. Move away, Kyle. Just move away. So day 195 of his broken promise. So we'll see. Maybe
we gotta do some kind of anniversary thing when we hit 360.
Yes, we do. T-shirts or something.
Oh,
1 year, 1 year of lies. So let's get started with a release. So this was it's finally shipping to the Kickstarter backers, but the Cyberpunk Red Combat Zone. The details of that box were revealed, but because it's a Kickstarter, there's a lot of extra stuff, and you don't really know what retail is going to look like. And now there's pre-orders for retail. So Monster Fight Club, they've done a few. I guess this was the big thing that first got attention, and they actually they sculpted some of the Warzone Eternal as well for the kind of reboot of Warzone Eternal Kickstarter. Monster Fight Club did some of that, so they're a little chunky. Like they have a little bit of a chunky look, but the miniature skirmish game based on Cyberpunk Red is shipping to the backers, and it is now pre-orders for retail. So this is, of course, is using the same source material as the CD Projekt Red's 2077, the Artisarians game, originally released in the 80s. And so this is an update basically of Cyberpunk 2020. They're calling it 2020, or they're calling it Cyberpunk Red now. And and there's also, I think the game, the tabletop game has a source book for 2077, which is the setting of the
video game.
Yes.
And anime.
Yes, right, and anime, right, and anime. But we have the details now for what Combat Zone is going to be like in retail release. So you're playing on a 22 by 30 foot board, which is nice, so skirmishy. A foot.
22 by 32 inch. Okay.
It's huge. It's huge. It takes a long time to get into
maxi game. All right.
range. We're using real weapon ranges. No, sorry, inches. Yeah. So 22 by 30 inch board. You've got multiple activations and a turn for figures, cover. So they're comparing it to XCOM, if you've played XCOM or Fire Emblem, as far as like tactical things. I think this is someone that wrote this review is like very video game based. They don't know board games or miniature games, but they are also doing cards and tokens to make it as easy as possible to see what's going on. And there's also a net running mechanic in there, and this is all stuff that Infinity has already done. So that those things exist in Infinity, but Infinity is very deep. It's kind of rules upon rules upon rules.
Right.
So this is much more simplified, much more streamlined, but it does have that same sort of mechanic where you can interrupt your opponent's turn. So you're watching what they're doing, and there's I don't know if there's opposed rolling here, but you. In Infinity, there's opposed rolls, and there's things where you can disrupt so you're not just sitting there waiting for them to activate everybody and then react.
Something GW has not learned.
Yes, right. So this set will include a 54-page rule book with a little bit of fluff. You can play one-offs, campaign, or multiplayer, and the interesting thing about their campaign rules is they built in an asynchronous experience, so you can be involved and play whenever you can play with whoever you can play, and it kind of accumulates. So you don't have to be progressing at the same time, and you can just kind of when and wherever. So I thought that was an interesting. It's a good idea, because that can be a problem is when to meet. So the pricing on this is interesting. So $120 for the set, but it gives you 12 miniatures, and the material of the miniatures looks like it's Ceocast.
Okay.
So Ceocast is looking to be about $10 a miniature. So most of the Kickstarters and everything, it's pricing out to about $10. So that means everything else, the terrain, the board, everything else you're getting is, is additional to the miniatures. So this is their starter box set with 2 sides of 6 each, and you're also getting extra heads and weapons. So, but I think because it's Ceocast, they're off the sprue, so you'll get options, but they're just going to be in a little plastic bag. And that also means that your plastic glues don't work. It's all super glue. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. So the acrylate super glue is what is needed because nothing else is going to work.
I gotta say, I'm not impressed with that price point.
Yeah. Well, but compared to the that Star Wars, which is 170 or something. Yeah. That was I think that's a bigger scale. I think that's a 54 or something. 52. What's the?
I don't know. 54 was the Inquisitor, old Inquisitor.
Yeah. I think So I think they did a bigger scale like that.
Right. Ooh.
Yeah, for the Star Wars, so they're maybe a little more detail in those miniatures, and if they're using cheaper board game plastics, they'll be much nicer.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know that's what Star Wars Shatterpoint.
Yes.
Right? Okay. I didn't. I'm into so many miniature games, indie miniature games like that. I'm not really interested in the big name stuff. Anyway, I'm a snob like that. $175 or $120. Like, I'm solely looking at that from the kind of the imagined point of someone getting into the hobby. That's not a starter set. That's not a starter set price, in my opinion. And that's why I had that reaction. So irregardless of what's in it, expecting someone who's maybe never played a miniature game to rock up to a store and be like, here's $120 for this thing. I'm like, that's too much.
Yeah, but I mean, if you split it, it's 60, and basically that's how they're pricing their buy-in without a rule book and just the miniatures and cards and probably tokens is 50. So the faction boxes that give you 6 miniatures is 50, which is a little bit cheaper than the standard Ceocast. They're usually about $10 per miniature. But yeah, you're right. That is and they're just expecting that. I think it's a kind of a disease we have now from Kickstarter is just like, oh yeah, everything's over $100. It's like there's nobody young getting into that.
Well,
because they're going to.
Fair enough. I was looking at that purely from a consumer standpoint, where $120 is a lot. We also have to look at it from like a manufacturing, like if due to the world, this is now the price of board games, right, and things like that, then so be it, right? We all have to adapt, but still, ouch.
Yeah, and you're not getting. I mean, maybe that is the full rule book, but it's a little thin. If there's fluff in there, it's very thin. Yeah,
I keep talking to myself. I don't care, right? Right. I bought the digital Hail Caesar rulebook. It was on sale, $16. It's something like 200 pages. Where I'm just like, Rick Priestley, cut this shit out, right? Like, you could have cut that down. The number of pages in a rule book is not like, 300, this must be good. 54, this must be crap. It's like, no, how concise and clear did you get your rules, right? We got it down to a page. Yeah, all right, nice, right?
Yeah. So this is the Burn Down All Icons of Wargaming podcast.
It is.
But I've always thought their stuff was a little pricey, but it's kind of fitting right into this, and everything is still cheaper than Warhammer. So,
yeah, there is that.
It's like,
how much was the Leviathan box?
Yeah. Well, for us, it was over 300.
Us, like we bought it.
Yeah, right.
Tell me you
for
didn't.
This part of the world. No.
Okay.
Yeah. For this part of the world, the one thing that the reviewer did point out about this is there's no assembly instructions. So you're getting like probably a little plastic bag with a bunch of little bits, and there's multiple heads and multiple weapons, and you're like, okay, so. They said they're going to fix that. The company said they're fixing that, and they're also going to create a series of videos to kind of help new people to the hobby. And this reviewer sounds quite new to everything because they were like, "What is this?" with a lot of the details in the box. It is cardboard terrain. It's cardboard with little clips terrain, so pretty low on the on that side, because that's the thing that Shatterpoint did, is they went all out with this crazy catwalk Star Wars-esque. With little stairs and everything to lightsaber duel on. So that brought their price point up pretty bad. So you get the 2 starter gangs in the box, the Zoners and Lawmen, and they're going to be a total of 10 factions that will include pretty much everybody from the TTRPG setting. Right. And I wonder if there was a board game. I think maybe CMON did a board game for Cyberpunk 2077, but it seems like eventually they would want to support that as well if they could. But so the delivery, if you pre-order now, is expected by fall, and of course that 120 is recommended. The retail price. So online retail is probably a bit cheaper, probably a bit closer to 100. So yeah, if you're interested in it and you like the style of these miniatures, it's definitely aesthetically it was a little bit of a turnoff for me, because you think kind of skinny. Yeah, you kind of Cyberpunk. I think of like kind of starving little, cyber hacker. Like these aren't well nourished people, and the miniatures themselves they go with this like kind of odd, chunky aesthetic. Oh. Which kind of worked okay for a revision of Warzone Eternal, because those old metal miniatures are quite chunky, with those head-sized fists and everything. Yep. But for this setting, I was like, I wouldn't want to use those for the tabletop RPG.
Flip side?
Yeah. Well.
Small stuff snaps.
Oh right, yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's
like
right,
I don't know I don't know how Seocast acts.
Yeah.
But you're just like, this looks awesome. Oh, an ankle just broke, right?
Right, yes. So if you're interested in that and missed out on the Kickstarter, either you're receiving your pledge now, or if you missed out, you can pre-order this to see. So the rules, they said the rules are decent, and the thing that they directly compared it to is this is a much better, if you want a skirmish style game, kind of in a future setting, this beats the hell out of the price point to get into Necromunda, and like how totally lost you're going to be. What season is it? What location is it? Where are we?
But it's not GW.
It's true. It's not.
Let's be honest. Anyone who gets into Necromunda likes GW, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's the aesthetic. So this is another skirmish miniatures game coming out with a starter set, and they will continue to do so. So yeah, we've got Star Wars and Marvel and Cyberpunk.
Yep. I'm going to come up with a new term. $120 is not a starter pack, not a starter set. It's a committed pack. I know I'm going to buy this, right?
Yeah, you're
not very catchy.
You're involved.
An involvement pack, right?
Right. All right, and something else on Kickstarter, which there'll be a lot of these because I missed all of the Gen Con news. So we're talking about when I put things together. None of the Gen Con press releases were out yet. But Windheim, so Windheim Companion and the Horn of Dawn. So this is a Kickstarter by Nordic Skalds, and one of those Nordic Skalds is the host of the Sweden Rolls podcast.
Oh, cool!
So they're doing, and they played a lot of Scandinavian based, and they have played a lot of Forbidden Lands and also Dragonbane, or the Drakar och Demoner version. So they are releasing under the license. So this is the license for modules for Dragonbane. They're releasing 2 books. These will be 70 to 80 page books. They're going to be there's going to be a core rule book with softcover binding, similar to what they did with Dragonbane. All of the Dragonbane books were softcover, but there is a stretch goal for hardcover if the campaign does well enough. This is under the open game license for Dragonbane by Free League.
Cool.
And of course, Dragonbane is the first English iteration and kind of revision of the classic 1982 Swedish, their kind of first fantasy role-play game. So the Windheim Companion is a fantasy world setting for Windheim. So it's the history, kin, and geography of this island, and also the deities of the world. The main, so it's a colony of the Bastonian Empire. In the world, the overall world is known as Esfera. And the Bastonites are humans and human and halfling culture, which is a little bit.
I'm only half interested now.
You don't like that mix, but it's so it's the classic fantasy races, like in Dragonbane, and then there's a dwarven realm as well that they mention, and so there's adventures in this, and so that's what the Horn of Dawn is. So that's the setting book is the Windheim Companion, and then the setting book is the Horn of Dawn, and that's part 1 of a campaign trilogy set on this island. Okay. And so what they said is they're going to have a mix in this campaign of battles, political intrigue, moral dilemmas, murder mysteries, and dungeon crawls. So a lot of varied to give your players lots of different things to do.
Was there any indication of there being parts 2 and 3?
Yeah, I think already I think this is pretty much underway. This is just getting this first part funded.
I mean, I could go either way, right? Like, say, we have a 3-part planned, and the risk is you write all and like nobody wants it, right?
That's right.
Or The other risk, like, okay, we do 1, and it fails.
Right.
So I was just wondering, like, where were 2 and 3?
Yeah, and I wonder, because they're probably doing this in Swedish as well. So
I would have to assume so.
Yeah, and so one may be able to support the other, you know, in popularity or whatever. But so we'll see. But very interesting. So the effort is to make it easy for a game master who wants to run this. Very clear and understandable, but also give them some sandbox play. So if the campaign is feeling too railroady, or they want to do different play styles, or there's certain things, the intrigue or the dungeon crawling isn't that interesting, ways to get around it. But they'll be doing playtesting, or sorry, their playtesting has shown them that they've gotten pretty close to the mark of hitting a nice balance between variation, and that's Andreas from Sweden Rolls. That is working on this. So and there, if you've listened to that podcast, it's all original. They do a lot of original, campaigns and everything, and so really creative, really fun stuff. So if this is anything like what they've done on their podcast, it will be good times. So check that out. That's running.
Is here where you now have to admit that we're getting a copy of this?
Oh no, no, I don't have any. No, there's no payola involved. No, I did an interview with Andreas, and I like that podcast a lot, and like that. But there's no connection, just a admiration for their ability to actual play. So if you're still on Kickstarter or is looking for things to spend your money on, there is still this. Came out last week. We could have talked about it, but it spilled over to this week.
Okay.
Garbage and Glory. So a tabletop RPG where you're dumpster diving as a party of raccoons.
Okay, now I'm interested. Right, I was like, Garbage and Glory. What the heck is this?
So it's keeping you away from like breaking into people's houses and stabbing them to death and taking their stuff. You're taking the stuff that they didn't want anyhow. So the little tagline is "One human's trash is another raccoon's treasure." So this is by Wet Ink Games, who they published Never Going Home.
Yes, that's why they sound familiar.
Yes. And so this is you're a team of raccoon adventurers that are so the human world does exist. So you're venturing into the human world in order to find and take home a ton of garbage. So I guess all the loot is trash. So while the human civilization views certain things as rubbish, raccoons, as the players, discover valuable raw materials that they can use in their own world. So the best part of their pitch for this on the Kickstarter were the character classes.
Okay.
So there's the trash smasher, the sticky fingers, the mess magus, the dumpster diviner, the unreliable narrator, and the called of the pile, which is their paladin class.
Unreliable narrator is pretty funny.
Yes. So the storyteller, but and this will use the +1 system, which is D6 based, and the same system that was used on Heckin' Good Doggos.
Oh.
And one of the designers for that is involved in this project, and Psychic Kids as well is involved in this project. So you roll a pool of D6s based on your attributes, and succeed on 5s and 6s, and also there's bonus dice and rerolls based on certain factors. So the other thing that they're going to do for this set is for this game is cards. So Garbage and Glory cards. So they're the physical rewards that you get. So when you're dumpster diving, these cards can represent either new weapons, armor, or other useful equipment. And for the garbage, and for the glory, it can be heals, improved abilities, or earning titles. Okay. So how you will level up. So the co-producers are Brandon K. Atten and Dieter Zimmerman, and they've contributed to Dungeon Crawl Classics. Corey Capps, who is the writer for Heckin' Good Doggos. Illustrator is Sam Brick, and the producer at Wet Ink Games is Matthew Orr. So the other game that they recently produced is the horror TTRPG, the Jiangqi Blood on the Banquet Hall.
Right.
Yeah, and of course Never Going Home.
Yeah.
So this is running until August 20th, and it's pretty reasonably priced. $20 gets you a physical copy, and $10 gets you the PDF.
$20, that's like an intro point.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I realize it's only like a book, right? But still.
Right. So fun, and it takes that fantasy. I always like that idea of taking the fantasy trope of dungeon crawling and applying it to like something mundane. Yeah, something like
not an office. That's been overdone.
Right. Not a cubicle crawl.
Yeah,
but some different situations where it still works, like the metaphor or whatever works, but it turns it on its head a bit.
I'm curious how the human world is portrayed, right? I think it would be hilarious if the human world and humans are like unknowable elder god Cthulhu type entities, right?
Right.
Because I mean, think about like anthropomorphic animals, right? And I have no idea how anthropomorphic these raccoons are, but you have like the one game where it's like we're playing animals. We might as well just be people, right? For some of the games, right?
Right.
But otherwise, like if you're playing like a game where like you're actual animals, then you don't understand what's going on around you. Like what's a car? What are the buildings? So I kind of want to see how it's handled here.
Yeah. I wonder if that's all going to be in the writing for the setting too. Yeah. So if the writer, the Heckin' Good Doggos writer, kind of was able to capture that, and maybe they'll be able to do that. Yeah. Give the mystery of the world and this like forgotten technology or whatever is
and with no chance of understanding it, right?
Yes,
like I'm thinking of like Watership Down, right?
Right.
The cartoon that has scarred a generation of children, right?
Right.
Thinking about like the dozers that just destroy the like they don't know what they're just giant yellow monsters that are chewing everything up. And no, you're not as a character going to go, it's a backhoe, right? As a player, you're going to be like, okay, but like no, as the character, you don't know what it is. You have no comprehension. You will never be able to understand what this is. So I want to see how they do that.
Yeah, and the illustration is very fun. It's very playful and very trashy. So good stuff. So check that out if that sounds appealing. And the last thing, so we were talking before the cast a little bit about the Legions Imperialis, the new kind of reboot for the Horse Heresy Epic, 40K deal or 30K deal, and so. This came at an interesting time. So Mantic posted a video where they said, hey, we were trying to figure out how to get our sci-fi war game, refresh it and do something different. So we remembered loving that epic scale. So we wanted to, produce our game at this epic scale. We spent 2 years, almost 2 years, put together the rules and figured, since we're already doing STLs for a lot of our miniatures, we'll shrink them down and play test it and see how it goes. We're ready to go, and we're going to do it in plastic, and we're ready to tool these tool the dies for the molds, and we're ready to go. Oh shit! GW announced that
so
they're
I'm going to have
it.
to go dig up this video because I haven't heard the rest of the story. I don't follow Mantic games that closely, but I have to like how, based on what you said, I have to like how transparent they were in this video. Be like, here's what we plan to do.
Yeah.
Right, and then roadblock. Right? So I kind of want to hear how they resolve
because
it.
It's a serious upfront cost to do all of that, and if they got a little bit of warning, I guess I think they're both in Nottingham, England, so that's a good that they were able to get early warning. So coming up with the future of Warpath. So they're taking an interesting approach, and I appreciate this kind of thinking.
I want to hear this.
Yeah, so they had Alessio Calvatore look at their rules and see how to kind of smooth them out. They wanted them to be modern but still evocative of that old style of that.
So you put a lot of asides and editorials in the rules, right? Gotcha.
Right,
okay.
Yes. But I think like tokens with like hidden things going on, stuff like that. But the interesting thing they posted is so they're trying to decide what to do. So they're like, wait, let's ask our players. Like what should we do? So there's a link on this video, and I'll put a link in this description as well. So a link to this video, you can read their blog post about how this came about. The manuscript for the current rule set that they have is available. So, of course, no art or anything, but all of the rules are now available. And a little survey, a poll, basically in a Google Doc saying, how should we proceed?
Interesting.
So they give you the options. I'd support Warpath as a full game system. Give me the core units and hard plastic, full terrain, physical books, and even if it requires a crowdfunding launch. So that's one option. The second option, I'd play Warpath with a more modest release. That's fine. I'd be happy with miniatures and other materials such as resin or whatever, and a smaller, tighter range. And third option, I'd love Warpath to be Mantic's first full digital released game with miniatures released as STLs through their Vault, My Mini Factory, and including merchant licenses with free online rules via their companion. And all of that is already in place. So for me, that's the most compelling option, because if they've got a good rule set and they can produce miniatures that people can both buy, they can buy them printed from licensed manufacturers. That sounds very compelling.
Maybe not onlygames.co.uk.
Yeah, right.
I'm still waiting, especially if it's like 6mm scale, because I'm still waiting for that to get resolved. So
yes. And the fourth option is I've read the rules, and Warpath isn't for me. So they give you an option to just back out.
I do kind of wish there was an like, I don't know how many options they could choose from. I do kind of wish there was an option that was kind of like, I like these rules. There's already enough 6mm, or there's already enough miniatures, right?
Right. Yes,
I mean, I guess that's kind of the digital one.
Yeah, the digital one. Yeah, right. You wouldn't have to use their miniatures. Yeah, but the digital rules would be available just through their app. But I would hope if they went digital, the one kind of caveat, and this is just maybe my age or whatever, is I wish they would do like a print-on-demand rule book. So at least I could have a physical rule book. Yeah, I would like those rules, and so that could be another. Without a lot of upfront, turning the rules that they were already going to release into a physical book, and that may be something they can take to crowdfunding and have that. If there's enough interest in the digital release, maybe whatever. But I thought that was an interesting take, and like you said, very transparent. So they really wanted to create a mass battle game, something that would compete with their firefight game that the 28mm that they're already doing. They did, as similar to GW, settle on round bases of miniatures, which again is interesting. The square lines.
I think round. I don't know. My own feeling here. Round bases are great for. Or I think round bases work for more modern warfare, where you don't have to worry about them touching or ranking up, or things see all the way around. Where square base to me says these things are meant to rank up, they're meant to touch certain ways, they have facings. So the things that they wanted to keep, or they wanted to make part of this game, are modern stat lines. They kept their faction orders using their D8s and their command dice, like their other games like Dead Zone and Firefight, and so they've already got a logo. It's very it has a very retro appeal, and have already come up with ideas of what like a 2-player box would be. Not $120.
Yeah, right.
Not $120. Yeah.
So and their first take, if they did do this as a full game, their starter set would be their Enforcers and Plague, which is an interesting combination, kind of space cops and disease zombies.
Mildly space disinterested in space cops, but all right.
But so this is really interesting, and they've already started down this road of releasing STLs and having this like active library. So even if they do produce this as a full game, they take it to crowdfunding, produce it as a full game, it's still going to probably eventually make its way onto their vaults and be something that they support that way. So and the last thing they put in this blog post is, I hope you're excited about the possibilities of this game as much as we are. As the direction of this project becomes more defined, we would certainly love people to help us with play testing. So they're very hopeful kind of about what to do with this. But interesting that they paused and said, we're going to get so overshadowed by the revival, especially in a Horus Heresy setting.
Well, it's also GW, right? So even if the game system is completely different, like GW, right? Do you really want to like make a little epic scale? I mean, we're even calling it an epic scale, right?
Yes.
Instead of 6mm, right?
We're using their terminology.
So do you really want to release like a 6mm? I think it's called micro armor, right? When we use a lot of tanks and stuff. Anyway, do you really want to release like a micro armor game around the same time GW's releasing the new epic?
And not like be like taking advantage of a missed opportunity or filling in a gap that they're not. You're just kind of doing the same thing, only with your property. It's like Horus Heresy is definitely a lot more well known, and so that's the only. I think Mantic has nice rule sets. They do sometimes okay miniatures, but they really have their lore and their setting stuff is so weak, and GW is so established that it's just like that's a huge disadvantage that they're working with. But I'm still supporting them with the Mantic Vault and everything, and like to see them keep doing stuff and keep having these kind of like novel approaches and different ideas, and being small and more agile as a company.
Well, then I know what option you voted for.
Yes, I put it on the vault. That's exactly where I want it. Yeah. So I'm curious about what's going to happen and where that's going to go, and hopefully they'll release the results of this poll eventually and tell us what direction they're going. Yeah. So next week we'll kind of have a wrap up of all the stuff we heard from Gen Con. And something interesting, the Warzone Eternal guys posted on their Facebook, they won't be attending Gen Con with a booth. They're going to be in the playtesting, or the free play area where you can, like, a company can have a table and they can demo games. But they said the wait list is so long for companies to get booths and get space. Like, is Gen Con like obsolete now? Is it like means that nobody indie, nobody small can come anywhere near that show?
Probably.
That sucks. So there needs to be an indie game con now. Like comics had to do that too. Like comic books had to say, okay, we're not DC, Marvel, so if you're small press indie, here's a separate show.
Here's
for
where
you.
we go. Right. Okay.
So hopefully that's, gaming is doing that, because if you can't get your company even into Gen Con because of their, everything.
Well, if you can't get your company into Gen, if you can't get your company into Gen Con, are you a company worth?
Right. But that also does encourage a lot of like guerrilla tactics and stuff. That's what happened a bit at Comic-Con. Is like people, they're just like stickers everywhere, and like they'd be throwing issues of your comic books from moving buses and things. So
free 8mm or 6mm scale miniatures. Little resin caltrops over the ground. Right?
Yeah, so some of the things that have already kind of leaked out is Starfinder's getting a second edition.
Yep,
they announced that. And so, we'll kind of round up everything that happened this year at Gen Con and see if there's anything worth paying attention to anyhow. And and also next week, a little teaser, there's an interesting, so Titan Forge, we already talked about them doing the 5 parsecs, licensed official miniatures. They're going to be doing a board game for a pretty huge property that I was surprised by. So we'll talk about that next week. So they got it going on. They're making deals. They're making some deals. So a board game, which I think is going to crowdfunding like everything else.
Course, right.
Of course. So that's it for this week. So where can people find you?
On Twitter until that thing goes down.
Is there still a thing called Twitter?
Sorry.
No, Roman numeral 10. What is it?
That's actually fucking better than
Unicode
character whatever.
Yeah, right.
Okay, I'm on X, where you can X me. I'll be Xing. I'll be re-Xing, and I don't know what the dumbest thing ever. And I hope to God you do lose that 4 to 2 billion off the value of it for that one change. Ridiculous. Anyway, I'm on X, Blue Sky, Threads, and Instagram. All at Hivemind, spelled with Y's, HYVEMYND, where basically all I'm posting now is miniature photos, right, of various decreasing sizes.
Yeah.
Right? I'll get down to 0 eventually, right?
We'll be playing on specks of dust. But
think of how many specks of dust we'll be playing with, right?
Yes.
Anyway,
the scale will be, it's a massive... mega
how
massive
many angels can dance on the head of a pin, right? Anyway, so how about you?
I'm still doing if heat stroke isn't overcoming me. Yeah, I'm still trying to do my live stream for Abuse Cartoons. So that's on YouTube and Twitch. You can see that, and so 2 cartoons a week and some Japanese convenience store goodies. Nice. That's Abuse Cartoons on social media. And if you want to read the cartoon, gocomics.com/domestic abuse. And if you want to support what we're doing here, and thank you so much, Abyss. We just had a YouTube member that upgraded from the follower to worshipper, the highest tier, the highest level.
Ooh, nice.
So I have to it's got to have its own badge, I think, because worship. Yeah, we have a worshipper now. So we're beginning a cult.
I'm mildly uncomfortable with that.
Yes, I know. If we have robes on next week, then you'll know things have gone horribly
or
wrong.
We just came out of a bath.
Right. So, yes, upturntable.com is the website, and upturntable on all social media. If you want to support what we're doing, you can join with the join button if you're watching this on YouTube. Join button below, or on Patreon. So patreon.com/upturntable.
Once they unscrew their billing thing.
Oh, yes. Patreon. Oh, it's also...
Shat the bed again. Yeah.
Of course. Of course they did. Well, of course they did.
Yeah.
But for as little as $1, and we've been posting a bunch of about 4-hour, like 3.5, 4-hour play sessions for various games. And there's a bunch of stuff still in the archives.
Ooh, nice. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, so we've got...
no end to the content.
Yes, a lot of so Vaesen, John Carter, a lot of stuff coming up for that. So, we'll get some of those things on the outside to kind of give you an idea of the characters and what we're playing. And then probably most of it is just going to be kind of unedited, raw, crazy audio in the archives for both the YouTube members and patrons.
Nice.
So so consider joining, and thanks again, Abyss, for becoming a worshipper. And that was the thing is I think he had already had almost a year as the follower tier, and it's like, I'm going to give up all of that cred, all of that. But we'll have to do something special to make that worth the move. So appreciate that, very much. And everyone, Casey and Matt and everyone that's on Patreon, thank you so much for all your support as always. So that will do it this week.
Yep.
We'll be back again next week.
Later, mortals.
Goodbye.
Worshipper.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I almost had infinite me in the corner there. The window, the Discord window was still up for Matt. So yeah, we had to switch. Actually, not on Ethernet cable internet now. So hopefully the speed and everything for the stream was good. It looks like the quality hung in there, but yeah, we're using Wi-Fi, so I was a little bit worried about. We've already had so much difficulty with that, but yeah, good to see everybody in the chat. Casey and Matt and Miguel. Yeah, Miguel made. Oh, and so no notification. It's real hit or miss. I'm not sure what exactly is going on. Yeah, check and see if, because sometimes, especially with YouTube, I've noticed that it switches priorities. Sometimes if there's something that, however it judges that, it knocks it down from giving you all notifications to whatever they call it, like recommended or personalized or whatever, which means that they don't tell you anything. But yeah, good to see everybody in the chat. Yeah, very strange. Yeah, Chris doesn't have a window. That's what I should do, is a little standing on the... Yeah, because then Chris has to talk through a window, and then if Chris isn't here, then we can just pop the Discord video into that same window. Nice. Yes, Kyle Watch 23. Yes, 2023 Kyle Watch shirts. Yeah, that would be funny to attend some sort of gaming convention with Resign Kyle shirts. Nice. Oh yeah, Casey said, "Oh yes, you might lose that gamer card." I think there hasn't been Gen Con for so many years. I think people are like, "Oh right, yeah, that's what we do in the summer." But yeah, that was really depressing though, that a company like somebody that's trying to get, because you hope that Resnova can get as many people to see this. Like, Warzone is back. Here's our version of it. Here's the miniatures, and all they can do is a small demo table. Like, they can't even have a booth. That really sucks. And you don't know if they got involved too late. Like, maybe they were too focused on the campaign, and they needed to have planned this a year in advance or whatever. So maybe they just didn't have stuff done well enough in advance. But yeah, that's too. Yeah, it's too odd. But it doesn't sound like, it sounds like it's becoming like what E3 or like Comic-Con, like San Diego Comic-Con has become just something for just the big companies to try to impress people over, but not a really good place to discover stuff. That's pretty unfortunate. And still the big companies wait for that time to make their announcements. And sometimes you get okay sales over this weekend. But yeah, I was all geared up in 2020 to do Gen Con and all kinds of stuff that year for the podcast. And yeah, something happened that interrupted all of that. Nice. Yeah, every other year. Yeah, so it's too bad. Yeah, and it seems like, yeah, I haven't seen a lot of promotion for it. I only knew it was this weekend because of kind of spam I'm getting from DCC and a bunch of other companies are just talking about their stuff that's going to be there. Nice. By the way, is beyond a trademark word yet. Yeah, right. Yeah, I wonder what that platform is going to be called, if they're just going to roll their what Wizards is going to call the new platform. It sounds like nobody's interested in playing raccoons. Yeah, that was something that I skipped last week, and none of the Gen Con stuff was news was out yet when I was putting notes together. So I was like, oh yeah, let's include that, because Wet Ink is a great company. I like the games they do. They do interesting stuff. I really like Never Going Home. So let's give some Trash Pandas some promotion. All right. Oh, so Miguel was saying, according to what I heard, Mantic had their Epic Game version for a while, and no matter what they did, yeah, they're always going to be, yeah, that's right, they're always going to be in Games Workshop Shadow. Yeah, just the timing couldn't have been worse if they wanted to actually invest, if they're going to go the thousands and thousands, or however deep they go into doing those smaller plastics. That would be heartbreaking to just then try to be releasing that at the same time. But yeah, I like the fact that they've chosen digital, that they're having this kind of cautious approach, and they're also, with their terrain and the stuff they're doing, they're saying they don't produce any TTRPG stuff. It's all word games or board games, but they're saying this is also for use, all their dungeon terrain and different stuff. This is also for use for RPGs. And the digital releases are also getting that kind of stuff as well. These are just random sculpts and things that we've done, and we'll release them to you as STLs. We haven't, they haven't been manufactured. It's just stuff we've kicked around for supporting tabletop RPGs. So yeah, I think that's good. So I hope they have some success with this, and it would be really cool if they could figure out a way to monetize things well enough. I mean, with I don't know if that subscription thing has proven itself, but for individual creators, that's a really good thing to have, this guaranteed income every month that will pay for your time to develop, to do the digital sculpts or whatever you need to do for releases. And it seems like some people have organized pretty well. It's a lot of people that are in kind of less expensive countries, Poland and places where the cost of living isn't insane, so that money probably goes a lot further if you have a lot of European and American people supporting you, and probably Asia as well, because it's all digital. If you have a lot of that money coming in, it'll go a lot further when you don't have huge bills for rent for your office space and stuff. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if they can get that to work. But that would be really nice if they started putting enough things through their vaults, like new games and things that they were developing, that got people to subscribe. The subscriber numbers got big enough that it helped the company. Yeah, just develop new things. So we'll see. Yeah, I wonder. And nobody releases those numbers, but I wonder how Mantic's Vault is doing. If enough people got interested in it, who knows? But yes, yeah, Miguel saying, yeah, that seems much more laid back. And it's former Mantic, I think, Warlord and Mantic were as former Games Workshop people. But yeah, they're definitely much more agile. They're not so big and unwieldy. And they've done some fun stuff. You see a lot more behind the scenes. Like they actually took a tour of their studios and stuff where people were doing sculpts and things, so you actually see like their process for doing resin and stuff. So it was much more they're much more transparent than Games Workshop ever will be, but because they're not a publicly traded company. Nice. Oh, great news. GW is raising their prices yet again, of course. Oh, that's right. Yeah, we talked about that last week. The death of the firstborn, the slaughter of the firstborn. Yeah, they're just sorry. We've invalidated. They've moved to Legends, of course. Yeah, that bullshit half measure of not just throwing them directly into the trash, but Matt was asking, does Mantic have an epic scale fantasy? They don't. But their Kings of War is interesting because you could actually play that at any scale, and they do what they call scenic bases. So the units are measured, and I'm going to forget the terminology that they use, but they have like horde or legion or I forget, regiment or something. They the different terms that they use for the kind of depth of the bases, and you just have to have that base size, and you don't have to have any particular number of miniatures. You can abstractly represent things however you want on that base. So you could technically with Kings of War go 6mm, because you could represent not with anything Mantic does or with Mantic's STLs. You could miniaturize everything and do tiny configurations of those that representing those units, because you'd have the same base size. So all the mechanics and measurements for the game would be the same. You would just have different scales. It might be a little bit crazy with range and stuff. The ranges might be a little bit too far if you scale it down that much. But that's the interesting thing about Kings of War, is you technically could just play it as an epic scale game without any changes other than miniatures, because they have a scenic base rule where you can lay out your miniatures on the base in any way. So because you can do that because you're not removing miniatures in Kings of War. You're just using a die usually to track fatalities or casualties. So you could play around with them. So I'm saying the year I went to Gen Con, some of the companies had to do demos demos at the food court at the mall next door. Lovely. Nice. Yes, and thanks again to Abyss. And I think that might have been because Abyss was was listening to the Knave RPG sessions, and specifically asked, well, where's the earlier sessions? You started live streaming with 3, so where's 1 and 2 and the 0 session? So I started posting those in the member section, and Abyss upgraded. So thanks so much for doing that. Nice. All right. Yeah, you got that window of infinite everything. Hey Abyss, how's it going? Yes, thank you so much for your support. That's very excellent. Yeah, and everyone. I mean, you've made so much stuff possible, and I know. Yeah, it's. Sometimes we have technical stuff, hit or miss, all kinds of those things. But yeah, we try to get as much stuff out, and it was really fun. It was really fun to do the audiobook. So I hope people enjoyed that. I saw that somebody mentioned that in a Warzone group somewhere. So people have started finding the audiobook again. So yeah, we'll just be putting stuff in places, and definitely just let us know in comments, here or anywhere, basically where you'd like to see things. Because if it's inconvenient, because I know like audio, it goes onto the RSS on Patreon, but sometimes like video that's uploaded directly to Patreon isn't so usable because the player is kind of wonky. And so where the best places are for types of content to go, we're definitely up for finding out. And some people have asked for posting just the podcast itself on different podcast platforms, because some people have more specific tastes. So there's anything out there that where you listen to or where this feed should be going, let us know. I really wonder if that would really suck if Games Workshop got wind of, they're going to try to do Epic because we're not. And if Games Workshop rushed to do their Legions Imperialis just to fuck over Mantic, just to kind of cock block Mantic from actually giving people something they'd want to do. Yeah, but there's already a lot of stuff out there. I think Chris is finding a ton of stuff, the third party miniature stuff. Yeah, it's funny. Oh yeah, so yeah, last we just talked about there were a lot of complaints for Games Workshop. So last week we talked about them. Yeah, basically saying Primaris, true scale Primaris is what we should be moving to for 10th edition. Originally 8th and 9th, they're like, yeah, it's fine, mix them, whatever, still use those. But now in the lists and stuff, even there's a lot of stuff that was kind of more classic Space Marine stuff that they've kind of culled from that. So they're and I don't know if they haven't really changed anything in the lore. It's still I don't think anything changed in the 10th edition lore to make that a thing, but the company is trying to say, we don't want you using any metal miniatures or anything anymore. Buy Primaris. And they're doing new sculpts, I think, of a lot of things that are going to be, I think like scouts and things are going to have to be upgraded. But yeah, moving them away. Yeah, Abyss says, I'm surprised Games Workshop just doesn't buy Mantic out, right? Yeah, just go away. You're annoying us, and pretend they never existed. Yeah, I'm glad they exist. I think the types of mechanics and things they have for the game give you another option to play, very similar style, like the ranked fantasy or sci-fi of various scales. Like their Dead Zone is definitely their Necromunda, and their Warpath and Firefight are their kind of 40k competition. So I think it's just that their factions and everything are different and interesting and good. Like they have Space Dwarf. Well, I guess now GW has Space Dwarves, but they had Space Dwarves when there were none, and Space Rats. Like they're basically Skaven. They're Space Skaven in their fantasy or in their sci-fi setting, and so they were kind of filling those gaps. But as far as they just need to get some good writers, just go after some a big name writer or something to help them flesh out some of their setting and make it a little bit more compelling. Because every time I'm reading kind of lore in their rule books, I'm just like, because I think I'm not sure if it still is, but the original setting for their fantasy world was called Mantica, and I was like, that's not great. That's very mediocre. Just like it would be like calling the setting for Warhammer Fantasy, Games Workshop or something. It was really Yeah. So, yeah, that's the only problem is they just don't have a crazy compelling setting to match what they're trying to do with their games. They've got fun games, but yeah, I mean, if you make up the setting, then I guess it would help. But yes. Oh yeah. Oh, Casey says, yeah, looking forward to Vaesen content. Oh yes. So yeah, it's great. Oh yeah, and we have like a complete. So we played through all of the Wicked Secrets and other mysteries, all of those mysteries for Vaesen. So we have a whole with Will and Matt's characters, the whole running the whole gamut of those adventures. We played them out of order. I guess I'm lucky we did that because things would have ended a little prematurely because that night sow was a real bitch. So yeah, but yeah, we've got all of those, and so I can start releasing those as well. Maybe I'll do the our first kind of establishing to establish stuff, the our first session, or like 0 and 1, and then put some other stuff just as audio. And actually, I think we can even do. We can even like kind of live stream that stuff. Like I can make them files and kind of unedited, like raw audio, but do some quick graphics and then release those as release those live as well. But yeah, I'll figure out something to some way to get that out there. But yeah, Casey, it's fun, and Matt and Will did have a real great dynamic with their characters, good dark secrets, and yeah, it was really fun. And it's just too bad we're not going to be able. There's threads we pulled and things that we're never going to be able to follow up on. I mean, we can, but we had a very we finished we finished a campaign. It feels like nice. Matt says, I want you to read the first Magic the Gathering novel, The Arena, and set it on fire. Nice. Yeah, that there's got to be so much funny, and the thing that I think would be fun for audiobooks is finding kind of abandoned weird stuff that never needed fiction. So I'll tell you guys a little secret that you're listening because you're patrons and members and things. I have the full run of the Vor the Maelstrom novels. I think they did 4 or 6 of those. So I have that whole set. So once I finish Mutant Chronicles, we're moving into Vor the Maelstrom novels for audiobook content. So maybe next year. So after the Christmas reading of the 3rd Mutant Chronicles, I'll move into some more odd stuff, and so we can just find like weird dead games and fun universes that got like awkward support. Unfortunately, Magic would probably be pretty funny, but there's still a big company that's very interested in protecting that copyright. But a lot of stuff that's kind of weirdly abandoned, I think, would be fun to go back and do as content, because it'll never be resurrected. They'll never, with the way that probably the rights and everything for that kind of stuff are all messed up. There's nobody to even recover much of that stuff. So it's fun. Magic the Gathering, The Arena. Yeah, I think Chris was saying that there was some set, some Magic the Gathering set that had a novel in it, and the novel was just so bad. It's like read a couple pages and just instantly pitched it. So it was like, yeah, pretty terrible. So that kind of stuff is fun, though, that kind of like odd supporting stuff, and some stuff that had fun settings that never got that treatment. Like nobody has done it to the extent that Black Library has for fantasy, and I mean, and there's a lot of garbage Warhammer and fantasy novels, but there's also some good stuff, and it really connects you to the characters and the things that they were doing with the setting. I think for a lot of people, once they figured out what the hell they were doing with the Age of Sigmar, the novels got more interesting, and they got a little bit more compelling with what that setting was. But I don't think originally they'd even figured it out. Nice. Miguel saying third-party miniatures for Epic don't matter. Games Workshop is always counting on the Games Workshop cults. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they're gonna. I mean, once they're doing like Gorka Morka, we know that they've been through everything. once they get more time in Gorka Morka re-released, we know that they've culled, or that they've gotten through all of their nostalgia bait, and they won't have anything left, basically. Cheaper and cooler STLs. Yeah, don't want them because they're not Space Marines. Yeah, right. Yes. Space Rats. That's nice. Yeah, that's for your retro punk band. Yes. Nice. Oh, the starter adventures. Yes, yeah. The Wicked Secret is that first collection of starters. So we played the one in the core rule book. So I'm going back to Vaesen. Sorry, I'm reading chat and not explaining myself. Casey asked about what adventures those were for Vaesen. So the mysteries that we played were first the one from the core rule book that just is a real basic kind of introduction, and then we played through the 6, I believe, mysteries that were in Wicked Secrets. The Wicked Secret, and yeah, there's a whole another collection, and then of course there's the England and Ireland stuff as well. And there's another one, right? Vaesen's got another collection coming out. Yes, there are definitely too many systems to try, but yeah, that's what those were, and they were fun enough. Like we got the time you spend at headquarters and how they established stuff, and then going off to other adventures, and then also the NPCs that they kind of rescued in those situations were really fun. So we were starting to build up quite a rogues gallery of people in Uppsala that the characters knew. Nice. Yes, Pulp Fiction. Yeah, definitely. All that writing is that fun, playful, and it was just fun with the Mutant Chronicles novels, because you just get those descriptions, like you get a Mitch Hunter description, and you don't really know much about him. But when he's a character in a novel, they can kind of flesh stuff out, and just his dialogue and behavior like helps a little bit to make him more, more of a character, more established than that weird little description next to his miniature stat block. Abyss has been people have been screaming for Skaven and 40k for decades. Abyss said they can't fill any gap, because humans and Tyranids fill that lore wise. Right, there's no room, but maybe there's always been rumors. If that would be so funny if they did it the exact same way, like the hive cities in Necromunda or whatever. There are always rumors of anthropomorphic rats, but no one believed it. And Miguel said, I don't know why anybody should be ashamed of bad fanfics. Isn't Disney Star Wars basically that? Yes, everything has, even the big companies now are just writing fan fiction, so it doesn't matter. Yes, or 50 Shades of Grey. That's Miguel. Nice. Amazon is doing, fanfic of the Rings. Oh yeah, the early days Star Wars stuff, when they were just kind of filling that gap. Yeah, there was some, like Han Solo at Star's End. Yeah, some of that stuff that were just like, we just want more Star Wars, and there wasn't. And even this might step on some people's nostalgia, but even Splinter of the Mind's Eye is an odd story. It was a very funny follow up, and I guess they didn't only Star Wars was out at that time, so they didn't even know where they were going with the storyline. So of course there was a lot of mistakes made in that novel, but that was an odd book of just like, give us more Star Wars in any way possible. Mantic has their space rats, I forget what they call them, but they kind of filled those gaps, and I think that's always what they've tried to do, is like do things that if you wanted that, well, we've got it. It's just their system. So Games Workshop could go back and re-release stuff like, Chainsaw Warrior or Judge Dredd. Yes. That would be great. That would be great. Old get some licenses back to those old that'd be cool to see. That'd be really cool to see Games Workshop do Judge Dredd miniatures. But I think that's one of the things that Warlord, I think they've got the I don't know if they still do, but they have produced miniatures games for a bunch of the 2000 AD properties. So I think they still have the Judge Dredd license. So that's the gap that they've kind of filled from what Games Workshop used to do. Hibiscus said, I'm sad to think that AI is going to get curb stomped because people get butthurt over my creativity. We'll see. It's interesting. I saw that there's a website now that you can search the the data set that they've used for a lot of the generative AI art software. So it's got some name, but it's got like 500 billion or whatever things that it's scraped from the internet without permission. So you can actually search artists' names and stuff and see how much of their art got scraped and put into all of that wonderful software. Yeah, Mongoose might. I think that's the last one that I've seen as far as tabletop miniature stuff. I think Warlord was producing. Yeah, and I'm trying to think the last. Yeah, Judge Dredd stuff has jumped, kind of jumped all over. Yeah, maybe Mongoose is the last one that I've saw, but I'm not sure if they're the current rights holder or not. Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I can't remember the last people that is. I've mostly been looking at miniatures games for Judge Dredd, so I haven't seen the last release. Nice. Oh, Morrowind channels. Yeah, that's who's doing. Who is that? Is that Modifius has a? Or are we talking about? Sorry. Elder Scrolls. Elder Scrolls. Modifius does an Elder Scrolls miniatures game, don't they? Google says the Judge Dredd license is currently with Warlord. Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, they may have. Do they? I don't think. Yeah, Warlord's done. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I think they're doing that. Yeah. I don't think Games Workshop is ever going to get that back if Warlord has anything to do with that. Nice. Nice. Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, because Warlord, I think they still do. They do metal. They do metal miniatures. I think for the Judge Dredd stuff. But it's a fun system, and they've got they do a bunch of the different properties as well. A lot of the 2080 stuff. Oh wow! Baldur's Gate 3 is $80 retail. That's crazy. I think there was a I think that included Baldur's Gate. I think there was a Humble Bundle that included Baldur's Gate 3, but it may have just been like a beta or something, like beta access. It may end up in the full game. But yeah, nice. Yeah, what was the last thing? Oh yeah, yeah. This just I think everyone's kind of just waiting for Starfield, right? That's out this month. Let's see what Starfield looks like. Yeah, but people are saying really good things about Baldur's Gate 3. That's too bad. But $80 well spent. Yeah, $80 for games is brutal. And if that doesn't give you like all the content, that they're going to be producing for it, if you're still going to have to pay for like, DLC and stuff after that, ouch. Yeah, that's crazy. Complicated. Oh no. Oh, they have romance options in Baldur's Gate? No. Oh no. Oh no, that's the you're talking about Starfield. Yes, I think Starfield's going to do that too, right? Because they're who they are. Yeah, I just want to kill people in zero gravity. That's the only thing that looks compelling in Starfield. Running through airlocks and gunning your way through airlocks. Yeah, I wonder how that's gonna. It should be buggy as hell though, so that'll be the fun part of it. Complicated. Oh man. But the furries got what they wanted. Brutal. Is that a thing? Wow. Oh no. Yeah, intercharacter relationships in Baldur's Gate. Yeah. Why would that be a thing? I guess because it's after Dragon Age. Yeah, that's a thing now. Complicated romances. Wow. Yeah, it does look good. I'm curious what. I love all the romance guides online for RPGs now, for PC RPGs. Oh, that's depressing. I think Starfield is going to have that same sort of deal, or just maybe a companion system. That's right, because I don't think you're not romancing in in Fallout. Oh man. Well, very cool. Yeah. So, yeah, I was really surprised how Titanforge is doing. Yeah, they've got a big license. We'll talk about next week for a 4X board game. They're going to do all the miniatures for. So that's great to see that they've established themselves enough. You know, they can produce quality miniatures, and now they're just working with. They're getting licenses now, and they're doing licensed projects. That's very cool to see that. They always stood out as on all the Patreon stuff. They stood out as a company that could do good stuff, and I think they even went to crowdfunding a couple of times with their own ideas for board games and stuff. I don't think anything stuck, but they're still producing miniatures for them because it's all STLs. But now they're getting real licenses. So yeah, and yeah, I'll try to do a roundup of everything they talked about at Gen Con. Oh, and I'll meet Jackson tonight. So Jackson from Kokoro no Me, the band that is our intro and outro music. So it's been a while. It's been pre-pandemic, yeah, since I've seen Jackson, and I've got all of his Starfinder stuff still here when we were playing Starfinder. So he needs that back, and yeah, eventually, finally, we'll get to meet up. It's been a long time to see each other, so that'll be fun, and hopefully it would be great. He's a really good GM, so it'd be really fun to have him run either Pathfinder sorry, new Pathfinder 2e or Starfinder. But it sounds like they're just going to bring Starfinder and Pathfinder, you know, using the same mechanics, and also, you know, move completely away from the old OGO and make them have the 3-action economy, turn economy and stuff, so that they're, you know, kind of cross compatible. I think that's always been there. Paizo's idea is to keep those systems so they feel very similar, just a different setting. So yeah, where did we go here? Nice. The furries always win. I think every game, everything eventually has to submit to magical anthropomorphic animals and all of their weird proclivities. Nice. I'm Matt saying, if you can't run straight from town to an evil temple full of gnolls that kill me in 10 seconds, then it's not Baldur's Gate. Yeah, that's true. Oh yeah, rhymes with peeve. Peeve online. Right. Yeah, I was surprised. That's pretty huge. I don't think they've ever done anything. They've done kind of some support stuff, and I think actually CCP. So we're talking about EVE Online. So EVE Online, like, I think that company originally did a couple of board games and stuff in Poland, but I don't think they've. Or no, not Poland. Where's CCP? God damn! Now I'm all confused because there's dealing with too many. Where's CCP? Reykjavik, Iceland. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they did some board game originally in Iceland and stuff, and then they did EVE Online. So yeah, so Titanforge has a CCP license for PEEVE Online for EVE Online. Nice. Yeah, I like Jackson's band sound. I'm curious. I'll ask him tonight too how much of a chance, like, probably over pandemic, all the live houses and everything in Japan were closed, but I'm curious how much they've been recording and able to do new stuff. They've released a new they have a new thing on their Bandcamp, I think they're on, since we started using their music. But yeah, I'm curious to see how things are going. Matt's having a stroke. Oh, Miguel's got a great quote from Final Fantasy player that kind of applies to Baldur's Gate. So if I want something like, "Lady, I'll kill 9 gods on a weekly basis," so a little cat girl can play Connect 4 with Connect 4 with stickers. Don't try my patience. Nice. Yes, the cat girls of Final Fantasy. Oh, no hope, no hype or hope for anything Larian made. Oh. Yeah, so yeah, we'll see what news comes out of Gen Con. I haven't heard. I'm kind of weirdly sitting by my mic. Yeah, we'll see what they do. But yeah, the visual visual element of the stream, once I'm reading chat, goes way downhill. I should have. It's probably better to have chat. I don't know because people do that too. If they're like webcams on top of laptops or whatever, they're kind of staring into space reading. I don't know what's better, to be reading off to the side or reading over the camera. It's all bad. But this will go to the Patreon RSS as I'm reading the chat to myself. But yeah, so we'll put the I'll get the session 2 of the Knave campaign up there, so we'll have all the way to 4. And so Casey mentioned the Vaesen. I'll take a look at that, and so basically I'm trimming the kind of talk and unwinding after the session on the end, so just the start and end of the actual session itself for the raw audio. But I'll go through if there's any dead, because I know a couple of times like the postman came to the door and stuff when we were playing, so I know I stepped away at weird times. But I think there might be audio throughout everything, but there are some weird breaks and stuff and rules lookups. But it's all, if you don't mind that stuff, and if it's a better look at how those game sessions actually go, I'll post those up. And those are great characters. I really enjoyed, and the John Carter stuff is really good too. Yeah, so I'll put together some graphics of the character art and stuff for those sessions, and specifically because they are certain mysteries that I can do the collection of art that I already have for all of that stuff, just so as it's playing you have some idea of who we're talking to, and that should work. That should work well. Nice. All right, everyone. Well, I think that's gonna do it for this week. I'm glad the move to Wi-Fi doesn't totally screw this stream up. I was really worried there for a second because the router stopped working, so I had to switch over to Wi-Fi, and was really worried we'd take a huge bump. But Japan's got pretty fast internet, so, and we're in the city, so luckily no difference, so that's good. Very cool. And thanks again, Abyss, for upgrading your YouTube. That's very cool, and I'll keep making sure that there's a lot of good stuff going into the member area for that, and then audio, of course, that will go onto the Patreon. And if any of that becomes annoying, just message me in either in Patreon or comments on YouTube about wanting things in other places, or things not working well as they are, because certain platforms, like video in Patreon, I don't think is great. It's not very easy to watch. So of course video is much better. At least it's more flexible if it's on YouTube. Maybe not great quality. They compress the hell out of it, but great. Yes, Dragonbane unboxing. Oh, should we do a simultaneous unboxing, Matt? Yeah, that's right. I've got Dragonbane like sitting right there, ready to go. I got a couple of things I gotta unbox as far as recent stuff that arrived. But we'll be doing that soon. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. And so Dragonbane should. I'm not sure. Maybe over the weekend. I think there'll be some time over the weekend to do that. And yes, it arrived. Yeah, Matt's arrived as well, right? But Matt didn't have to pay $20 for some reason. The import fees in Japan, they decided that something that didn't even cost $100 needed to pay an additional $20 just to be received. And it's weird because it usually gets triggered by like if there's multiple numbers of something or if it's over a certain price threshold. But for some reason, my Dragonbane, just the basic pledge, got nailed for import fees. Very weird. Yes, so more Free League content incoming, and the second part of the Dragonbane starting adventure incoming. All of that stuff is on deck, in the pipe, whatever we want to say. Very cool. All right, so everyone take care, and look for some Dragonbane unboxing and the session 2 of the Knave RPG. So then you can catch up. Then the things we'll be releasing. Live streaming after that will make more sense. So take care, everyone, and we'll do this again next week. Thank you for the support, and see you again soon. Goodbye.